Hello, everybody. It's Friday night and it is Weekender time once more. On this week's show, we're going to be checking out a fantastic boutique indie and diving headlong into a wealth of news from across the gaming industry. However, before all of that, one lucky viewer will be in with a chance to win King of the Dice, a board game where you try and attract citizens to your newly founded kingdom. Fun for all the family, and it could be yours if you pop a comment below and you're a subscriber to the channel. If you can also do the good stuff, share us around and ding Warren's dong, that really helps us out. But otherwise, sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined this week by John, Justin, and Ben to take you through a gentle meander of the hobby world.
Yeah.
How are you guys? Keeping well?
Not
Good.
too bad.
Good,
Not too
good.
bad. Yeah. Very good.
We're being awfully busy at the moment in the studio.
That's very unlike us. What was?
Well, you know, if people have been paying attention, especially if you're a Cult of Games member, you'll probably have seen an awful lot of piratey stuff go out last month with our whole blood and plundery piratey blog type stands. We're kicking that off this month for Conquest, the last argument of Kings / First Blood, because two games, one set of miniatures.
Calm down, down, boy, down.
So we've decided we're going to build a new force of the newest army, the City States.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first vlog of which is up for our Cult of Games members over on tabletop.com. If you want to have a nosy and see what we're up to for the next 4 weeks, where we'll be building and painting that force and maybe even doing a bit of terrain. Who knows?
Ooh. Okay.
Who knows?
Cool.
You know, always in motion the future is, though, as Yoda said, so don't hold us to any of this. We will be doing Conquest for the next 4 weeks, mind you. But if you're after any of that, you can come across to OnTableTop. If you go to the Conquest hub, you'll be able to see all the videos that we've filmed and bits and bobs in there as well about Conquest as well. There's my little spotlight chats with Konstantinos.
I always love chatting to Konstantinos because he is just Mr. Lore. The world lives inside his head.
He's good crack. He's currently also the head of the City States.
All right.
Or the founder thereof was Konstantinos.
Cool. Yeah.
He did not put his own name in there. It was Stavros decided that the head of the City State should be Konstantinos, at which point he went, can we change it a bit? Because at the moment it is just my name there. So
Just spell it with a C. It'll be fine.
Yeah, they pretty much just did that. Yeah, they spelled it with a C and then they changed the surname very slightly. So yeah, Platon is Konstantinos.
That's very cool, though. Immortalized in the game. That's nice.
It's nice to see. But yeah, we're going to be kicking things off with some pike and phalanx action, some minotaurs as well. Might be a few unboxings and bits and bobs coming for that, and painting tutorials and all sorts of good stuff. As much as we can cram into the next 4 weeks without losing sleep or sanity, I think is the way that one's going to go.
Sorry, I lost that about 11 years ago.
Oh, well, it's not a loss if you never used it to begin with. That's how I look at these things.
This is a fair point.
Sanity doesn't run in my family. It gently strolls, getting to know each individual member. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we're up to this week. Like I say, the Cult of Games members can see that now. I think it's 7-day early access for the first week. It'll go out on YouTube next week if you want to see what we've been up to. Or you can take a look at the Blood and Plunder stuff we've already done. Exciting times ahead. But now, exciting times very much ahead as we take a look at the most important part of the week. It is, of course, our indie of the week.
Ooh.
Sorry, Ben. Just Jerry does it better.
Yeah.
And the indie of the week this week is not because I've been spending a lot of time staring at Temple of the West's upcoming Confrontation Continuum. No, sirree, Bob. It's not.
No, you don't do that every night.
No, I don't do that every day. No, I'm not constantly hitting refresh. But we're going to be taking a look at Simon Miniatures.
Oh, okay.
And I believe it is Simon, not Simon, because he is, after all, French.
Not to be confused with Simon or come on.
Yeah, because that's not how that's pronounced. That's pronounced cool many or not. They're just a
That's
website
true.
for rating people's paid jobs. That's it. Delusions of grandeur. So
wow.
So it's a small range. It is very much a boutique range in every sense of the word. He was a Rackham sculptor.
Oh, okay.
And then after Rackham went away, he's gone on to do stuff for Mercer, Mythic, Monolith, a whole host of companies.
That Lycan definitely has a Rackham vibe.
Oh, yeah, with Gail Bulg stabbing people up. Ski. So I was looking at these with the idea that I could probably do some additional bits and bobs for some of my forces. So I've got too much confrontation, but at the same time, not enough. Weirdly, I'm looking to round out some of my things, but they're also very good just for other agnostic, generic fantasy style games. I say that some of them are wicked impressive.
That's so cool.
So they are on the larger scale, like Confrontation was.
Okay.
You're looking more sort of 35 mil for the infantry. He does list all the heights though. So this fella here, he's one of the more expensive pieces at 48 euro. He's also 80 mil high.
Wow.
So he would be, for those who remember, the wargs of the waxing and waning moons from Confrontation, the big oversized alphas who led the Wolfen. He'd be a perfect stand-in for one of those.
He's one of those, yeah.
Because it's easy to get regular sort of 40 mil style werewolves from various companies if you're after just a regular rank and file. But if you're after those big legendary types, slightly harder to come by. And he's absolutely stonking. So it's a mix mostly of Kelty looking things and some evil, dribbly demon adjacent people for fans of Slania and Slough. You have everybody's favorite horned king gimbling around the place. This tiny shriveled Winky.
Oh God, I hadn't seen it.
Oh,
I cannot unsee.
Good times. Like SpongeBob, it's just there.
Oh, there we go.
Again, absolutely gorgeous. So
that is beautiful.
I have a decent set of.
Is he rocking around with a clacker in his hand?
No, it's an axe.
It's an axe.
Although
it looks like one of those
it could be
clacker things you spin around.
Yeah, it looks like a noisemaker.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
It can be if you want to be.
Maybe he's a football fan.
If you want to bring back, 1930s football fans.
Just as long as it's not a friggin' vuvuzela.
Well, that's certainly a way of it.
Version of the miniature,
yeah. But the work that Simon's done is absolutely gorgeous because he flicks back and forth between very elaborate, highly decorative pieces and then very minimalist. So some of the Celt type savages, they're no clothes on, beautifully, sort of simplistic sculpting with very minimal additional bits of kit on them. And then the next thing you'll see will be something like this.
More gear.
Yeah. So a hero of destruction.
I want that as a leader for a Slaves to Darkness army.
He would fit very well with my... I've got a range of Avatar of War resin stuff before they stopped making it.
Yes.
Actually, have about 300 of them in resin. I'd probably live off that for the rest of my life. And a very similar style to the armor for them, especially when you see the shield coming around.
I was going to say, I want to see the shield up close.
The shield has got a ton. Also, it's a proper demon-looking greatsword he's got there as well. Almost like the Quillians have become a pair of maws that you can just sort of imagine clamping down when he's ran somebody right up to the hilt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But even down to the sort of the fur and the skin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the cape with all the tiny little chains on it.
Wow. I love that shield.
Oh, that's good.
I've just realised I've got the exact same miniature turntable.
That means your boutique as well, Jerry.
Yeah, if only I ever had anything to put on it and rotate and take photographs of. But I don't. I have none of those things, unfortunately. He has sort of split the stuff he does into like destruction and cannibal and stuff like that. There's Cathbad. Definitely have to have a look at Cathbad.
Oh yeah.
For fans of Irish history, is the druid who named Cuchulainn.
Oh.
And I mean, when it comes to druids doing druid things, and very Rackham vibes of perched on very spindly little rocks, it's all good. But I mean, he would easily fit into either the Caesar or the Druns for me. But then if you're playing a different style game, you're just after a wild hermit caster. I mean, look at him coming screaming out of the trees at the head of a bunch of Picts about to lamp the heads off all the Romans in town.
See, all I can hear is "get off my land."
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, could do that.
I love all the details on the belt and all the muscle work's fantastic as well on these.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous.
The tiny nipple piercings.
Yep.
Wow.
Because why wouldn't you have tiny nipple piercings?
Well, it means he'll never be king. Because I'm fairly certain the piercings count as deformation. Anyway.
Oh no.
But yeah.
Note to self: don't pierce nipples if you want to be king.
But specifically in Ireland, the other thing where if you ran for king and you failed the job, they would generally like cut one of your nipples off, which meant you couldn't go back.
Run again.
Yeah.
Well, I'm fine in England then.
So yeah, stick to England. You can have the throne in England.
I'm amazed they haven't had that in as part of the American election process. You failed, snip.
one term. As soon as you're finished,
nipple off.
But yeah, Cathbad's an absolutely gorgeous.
That's lovely. Can we have a look at was it Canute and Otto? I think that little set.
Canute is Canute is great because it's got that sort of Russ vibe.
Yeah,
with the more sort of padded legs pushing in, and then his hunter/tracker friend. Again, these are part of the Wolf clan.
Yeah.
So, clearly in Simon's mind, he has a structure with different clans, and certain clans have certain aesthetics and themes that they fit with him. But he's great because he's got that sort of Russ comes Slavic look with the half-shaved head, and then the sort of little hair and dripping down one side. They look absolutely stunning. Very good for games like Saga, for example.
He does capture a really nice sense of motion. If you look at the guy kneeling down, I'm guessing that's Otto, just with the little loincloth just billowing in the wind.
Yeah, it is really cool. It gives you an idea of the scene that the miniatures are in, which is what you kind of want with something a little bit more bespoke like this, especially if they're going to be character models.
Yeah,
you want that kind of motion and the idea of like what it represents as well as just the miniature itself, which is cool. So very heroic.
I mean, well, this is the thing because there's so much character in the character models that if you're planning on not playing fantasy games, which is just madness in my mind. But if you're going to go that route and just pick them up for paint jobs, there's a lot that you can do with them, even with the more simplistic sort of barbarian style. We will hit a point where I run out of videos, by the way, because his older stuff, we don't get the 360s. We just get lots of single images, which is a shame. Yeah. But again,
this is the kind of stuff this is the kind of stuff that you see Spanish painters showing off, looking amazingly well at competitions, basically. So.
Yeah, they're terrible people as well. I would love to see. Well, I'd love to see Marco paint some of these because he's a very distinctive style, and I think on these sort of elaborate yet minimalist sculpts, he could do a lot of good work. He's particular.
A zoom.
Getting spicy.
That reminds me of the time I first discovered where the zoom button lived when I was recording stuff up at the studio. It's like on a vlog. I was like, I can zoom in and zoom out. Yeah, stop doing that, Jerry. You're having motion sickness.
You make everybody sick, yeah. Although, what is that like punch dagger type thing? That looks as if he goes after you, he's just going to get both lungs.
Yeah, well, it's the best way to deal with somebody. I imagine it's made out of like deer antlers.
That would
strung together. Then you can just use it because it has that sort of textured look down like a grain.
Yeah. I like the idea that he like pins you down around your neck with the
Easy now.
blades.
Oh, yeah.
And then cuts your head off with the
like
axe.
a staple, just holding you to the ground and then behead you. I mean,
But stands up and just goes, "Wait a minute, just give me a sec."
Yeah, but he's absolutely. I mean, he's
like
cracking.
Aragorn stuck against a tree by a shield.
Can we get a look at the Lilith?
Spider Lilith,
Yes.
Lilith, Spider. I'll do you double. We'll go with Lilith and Bial.
Okay.
Because they're both kind of creepy demons. Unfortunately, no spin arounds for Lilith. But as far as some sort of spider succuba goes, so 35 mil figure, but 60 mil tall when you include big, creepy
the legs,
spindly legs.
Hey, John, what do you think? Good representation. You could maybe use as an alternate Queen of Blades.
If you have a game for anything to put the Queen of Blades in, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what a Queen of Blades.
Since StarCraft doesn't have a game.
Oh, it's a sci-fi thing.
Yeah, Zergling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could use her as that. Yeah.
Again, I don't know, but Xenos Rampant allows you to do big style games and is flexible enough that you can pretty much do whatever you want from vehicles to monsters.
You could, get yourself 3D printable Zerg somewhere.
I'm sure someone's done them.
Yeah.
And then big buddy boy fire demon Bilal. I quite like his multi-horned helm.
Yeah, that's nice.
It reminds me a bit of the Witch King from.
Oh yeah, the Witch King of Magma.
Yeah.
Very,
very. Glad you remember the name.
very, very Final Fantasy.
Very Souls-esque, I'd have said.
Oh yeah, actually, Soul. I could see that as a Souls boss. Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, the pose is very much you've just walked into the boss fight and he's about to give you like 5 minutes of exposition on how he's going to murder you and burn
has
your soul.
Awoken me?
Pretty much.
Who comes into this place carrying water? It is an affront to my fire demon majesty. He just batters you round the head a lot.
Oh yeah, imagine that with like a volcanic sort of lava magma skin.
I will have to do Minos because I know you like a Minotaur. And look at that, as far as a big bull-headed guy goes.
Oh wow, he's huge.
He is 100 mil tall and the biggest.
Wow.
And many would say bestest.
Chunky.
I mean, he's absolutely... The nice thing about him being so ridiculously big is giants. I mean, running him as a giant instead of just like a regular Minotaur. Although, if he'll fit on a 50 mil base, I'll get him into a lot of games, I tell you that. And it looks like he's got a regular sort of stride on him there, so he'll probably even fit on a 40. That'd be good.
Some of the tiny details that this sculptor does are just insane. The little vambraces with the knotwork on it. Really nice.
There are so many of those on the Celt Caesars and Druns. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And I've seen people paint them up as metal and people paint them up as just knotted leatherwork, and both work for it. And when you're dealing with some sort of massive creature like this, where you've got a lot of uncovered skin, shall we say, when you do have the little additional details like the big belt buckle or the vambraces or whatever it happens to be, to break things up, it's a real beautiful.
Even on the shin guards as well. And tiny little bits of armor just at the top of the tail.
Well, he doesn't want anybody to dock his tail. That'd be terrible. Then he couldn't swish flies away. And how annoying would that be in life? If I go gadank.
I see the words Beowulf, so you need to click on Beowulf.
I have to click on Beowulf, do I? Leshen?
I think that is pretty much a Leshen. I think we may have actually found a Leshen. I think.
Oh my god!
Dead,
so, how cool would that be? So Lothar to
Beowulf.
Again, interesting combo, like a barbarian, Tyrion, and Teclis. One does the cutting, the other does the magicking.
While still being able to stab you up.
Exactly that, just like Teclis. He just had his magic sword of, I'm going to hit you on twos, make your life a misery. But yeah,
so cool.
It's interesting because we don't see a huge amount of fantasy barbarian armies kicking around from people.
That's very true, actually. Yeah.
Which I think is greatly a great shame, I suppose. Weirdly, 10 mil. There's a couple of companies doing them in 10 mil.
Yeah.
So Spellcrow, Cobblestone Castings and stuff do it. But for a proper 28mm or poser scale barbarian Conan-esque army. You never really see them. And there are a couple
I
of
mean,
options
obviously
in here
these
as
are
well.
slightly larger, but if you're
Yeah.
going to be doing a big mass battle game, sometimes your character models tend to be bigger anyway. You could use these with something like the North Star Barbarian kits and use them as the basis for your plastic, the rank and file of your army.
I completely forgot about them because every time I see them, they're painted obviously in sort of greys and browns, because they're frost gravy based. A lot of people use them for that. So even the box art is blue greys and that sort of. So, but in my head, I always think Conan, sand, desert, hot things.
Yeah.
And I never even thought of the barbarians existing for 28s in that. But yeah, that is a plastic, and they've done a second box of those as well, haven't
They did female and male
Female and
barbarians.
male, yeah.
So you could mix and match those two together to make your rank and file. Use these as your characters, and then throw in some of the bigger monstrous creatures as your kind of big beasts, like the hell deer and
like the Leshen, which comes as regular hell deer or can be used as a mount for this fellow.
Wow.
Excuse me. It's so gorgeous. It sucked all the air from my lungs. But yeah,
the thing that I like about that is that if you're going to be diving into doing something to do with like the Fey realms or something as the kind of the basis of your army or your collection or your warband, or maybe even in a role-playing game, because the Fey realms, you can either go like nice and pretty, or you can do, no, this is really weird and twisted because nature has taken over everything. And you could have like these sort of twisted sort of fairy creatures, sort of going back to that kind of old version of the mythos and stuff.
Well, I mean, Osprey's upcoming Doomed game.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine one of these coming out of the trees as a twisted, radioactive hell deer.
Yeah.
He looks so happy as well. That's what he looks like. He's a happy man.
That would be really weird if he like came out of the clearing and then just bleated like a normal deer.
These sort of followers of Keranos, they've lived too long, or they've just not learned to die yet. Again, even adding in as champions for plague bearers.
Yeah.
This is why we learn very quickly: do not touch things in tombs. Otherwise, this happens.
Do not walk into the glade and touch the stone.
Or into the barrow and steal that magical sword.
Oh no, if you didn't steal a magical sword, you don't kill Witch King. Because if I hadn't been for that, all bets were off. Oh my God,
there are so many.
Unfortunately not, there's only one more little page.
Oh.
And then it ends.
I want to see Siegfried.
You want to see Siegfried?
Yeah, I want to see what it looks like painted.
That is very...
Well, if I'm going to do that, I'm also going to open Lord Death then.
That is very Mercer.
Yeah.
Is Siegfried. That is very much in line with
with
that style and design and aesthetic and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to get a look at least one of them painted because it's good seeing it in just bare, but whenever you see someone who's done a really good paint job on it, you can really start to pick out some of those amazing details that have been worked in. I mean, look how fine and delicate the fur is on that cape.
I like seeing it done in black, actually, like that, rather than it being kind of like a wolf pelt, like a typical wolf pelt. I think that's really nice.
It's like he's just skinned a big black bear.
Could be a big black wolf.
Possibly.
One of those creepy direwolf type things.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Very good. Very good for red Karnak.
38mm. There we go. Not too bad.
Big
Lord
fellow.
Death.
On his deathly unicorn of deathliness.
You don't play chess with him on the beach.
No, you do not. Or if you do, count all your fingers afterwards.
And it looks like he has a flayed skin cape. Fun.
Yep.
Yeah. Why would you not? Oh, I need to find the butcher. Oh, there he's there.
What is
Butcher Cannibale?
Okay, I thought that was a small child on his shoulder.
No, don't worry. It was a fully grown adult. But
yeah,
he uses every part of the bull, so to speak.
It reminds me a lot.
I think you're meaning to say.
Yeah. It reminds me very much of Adrian Smith did that. Well, he created that world and he did the game called
Hate. Oh, Hate. That's Hate. Yeah.
It very much reminds me of that kind of aesthetic there as well. You could.
Wouldn't surprise me because there was a board game by somebody, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think did Simon do it?
Fulmini or not?
See, I nearly do some of these as like, characters for your Kingdom Death Monster games.
Yeah,
because they have that right style, that right vibe.
Yeah.
Actually, the
And
more
again,
I look at
as John
these,
said, the kind of Dark Souls-y, Elden Ringy vibes there as well. I think definitely with these.
the more I look at these, the more I'm thinking, why not do them for post-apocalyptic? Humanity has completely fallen. It's the future, and barbarian cannibal tribes are just living out in the hills.
Oh yeah.
Don't leave your settlement.
The hills have eyes.
Yeah.
The eyes they took from everyone else.
Tiny cannibal monk.
Is that someone summoning a demon? Efrat?
Probably.
Putting a big tentacle out of the ground.
Oh, wow.
This one's interesting because Sinister, you don't really get the idea of what Sinister is from that angle on the paint job.
It's just Sinister.
But Sinister is some sort of creepy...
Oh,
creepy, what to call it, flesh shipping.
Yeah.
Just the thing.
Man. I do like the idea of running with this kind of like post-apocalyptic hellscape Earth, where it's like it is our future. So you do have people rocking around with guns and all sorts of different things, but you also have these people who have like summoned up these strange hellish creations.
Completely succumbed.
Yeah.
Honestly, that just looks like a genetic experiment gone wrong.
Yeah.
Went into the laboratory, broke a valve, and just like, whoops, I am beastie now.
And there you go, Ben. Because it's you, there is a dwarf.
Elric and Lucius.
He's got that kind of elven feel from the Cadwallon line, certainly.
Very nice.
Beautiful work from the sculptor.
Yeah.
Kudos
indeed.
He's a talented fellow. Come close, I'll stab your eye out. Well, actually, I won't. He can't reach your eye. Stab somewhere else, wherever he can reach.
And there you go. There's the summoning of the creature. Yeah.
Now, what do we know? We know never summon before you've learned bind. But invocating Chthon. Yeah, and definitely do not summon any of Chthon or its children.
I've been in enough weird websites to know where this is going.
No comment. Moving away.
But yeah.
Hello. Cannibal, is that another dwarf?
Yeah.
Ben only gets one though.
Oh,
yeah, I only get one. Yeah.
Oh, you get the cute one, not the one that'll stab you and flay you and nom nom nom.
He's got the
the Edward Scissorhands thing going on.
Yeah, which is very good for doing hair cutting and stuff.
I love the pale skin thing. It's something that I like doing with grimdark stuff. He's doing like very white, pale, like vampiric skin.
They don't get out much.
Yeah.
Well, they can't. Sunlight burns so much these days in the post-apocalyptic future.
We're coming up with such a cool world.
This is why the most valuable thing in the entire world now is vitamin D pills.
That would be amazing. Vitamin D, a whole host of barbarians that we haven't looked at. But
forget bottle caps.
He's and again he's a very Durs feel for confrontation fans.
The face is very Anthony Hopkins.
Oh yeah, he's gone full Tony.
Just needs some Chianti beans. No, fava beans.
Fava beans and a nice Chianti.
And a nice Chianti. Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
But yeah. If people are after a range of demonic elves or freaky barbarians, then I think it's definitely worth checking out Simon's stuff. He also has a little blog spot, which he hasn't updated in a while, but if you just want to see some larger pictures of some of his stuff.
Too busy sculpting incredibleness.
Yeah. This is, I've got his Molochs. So there are some larger pictures here and some of the stuff he's done for other companies as well, where you can see sort of the, I would say the progression of his style. But obviously,
Mr. Tumnus went bad.
He had well, that's available on that page. Very good for Kings of War for my herd army. But yeah, you can see where his sort of style started back with Rackham, and he sort of refined and stuck with it. It's really bad me looking at old Rackham miniatures because it just makes me sad I don't own them all.
It's dangerous that his style works so nicely with Boris's work as well, I think.
Oh yeah, very much.
Things could go very, very badly for people's wallets. I see.
So, but yeah, he's one of a handful of creators out there sort of servicing the confrontation community.
Very cool.
So yeah,
awesome.
It's nice to see, and going to hurt my wallet. What else am I going to spend money on? Electricity bills, please.
Oh, food, phone bills? No. Doctor's bills? No.
No, none of that. Well, we don't have those. It's quite good. Right, that's enough of our indie. We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, checking out all the news from the last week.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, we're back for the news. I feel newsless, adrift in a sea of non-news. I've been away for so long. What's been happening?
Well, some pretty awesome news coming out of the folks behind the Lone Wolf Gamebook series. A lot of folks will remember that this was originally penned by Joe DeVere, or DeVere, however you want to say it, I suppose. Back in the day, featured the amazing artwork of Gary Chalk, who has been instrumental in a lot of fantasy worlds, including a little bit of Burrows and Badgers.
And Confrontation, we were just talking about.
And Confrontation, that we're talking about, so the Lone Wolf series, well, is returning, but has already returned with its definitive set of editions that started, I think it was last year. And they're moving through into 2023 and into 2024 as well. So we're going to be seeing the definitive versions of these books as planned by Joe and his son Ben, who's working on the last couple of books of the series since Joe sadly passed away. But there's going to be the whole 32 books, 33, I guess, by the end of this. They're going to be hitting hitting tabletops or people's bedrooms and all sorts of different places, on the train, on planes, and in automobiles, where you can sort of dive into your game books and have some fun with this, rolling dice and seeing if you can survive. The sort of the focus at the moment is on the Kai series, so the Legend of Kai. So that's following the mighty warriors of his world, as they try to save the kingdom and all that kind of good stuff. But there's also going to be expanding into loads of other stories and things that were told by Joe as part of this world as well. As I say, these are the definitive versions, which means that they're the sort of the fullest versions of the books that they have ever done, essentially. They come with the nice new artwork on the front covers, but all of the original Gary Chalk artwork for the interiors is remaining the same, which is one of the big things for this for a lot of people. If you've never played a Lone Wolf book before, it's a little bit like diving into the Fighting Fantasy series. But the thing that I really liked about the Lone Wolf books, from the couple that I've played from the first series, is that it's much more structured. It's less you wander in and you have a vague idea of what you need to do and then you just die.
Yes.
There's very much a story and a purpose to what you're doing, and it's all about making choices, obviously, as you go through, and you still have different branching paths that you can sort of venture down, but as a whole, the narrative is much more structured, and it feels like you are actually inhabiting the world of these characters and stuff as you play through, which is quite nice.
From what I remember, and I haven't picked up any of the Lone Wolf books since let's not say when, but in a fighting fantasy you could do the old I go right and then it just goes, trap falls on your head, you're dead. So there was very definite one solid route through that maze to your win, and if you didn't follow that, you didn't win. The Lone Wolf books were, maybe there's a more direct route you could have taken, but just because you branched left instead of right doesn't mean that your game's over. It means you just take a different path to the finish, so there's still a conclusion. So it was an interesting way of doing it, and they were a lot of fun.
As I say, Joe's son Ben has been handling the last couple of books in the series, and so once this all comes together in 2024, there'll be this massive, huge collection of Lone Wolf books that you can dive into and have fun with. But if you want to experience Lone Wolf in a different way, Stone Sword Games, who've actually worked on some games that we really like Hogs of War and Senjutsu, which we talked about on Kickstarter last year.
I've got Hogs of War next door. It's a great game.
Hogs of War, fantastic fun, yeah. They're also working on the Lone Wolf, the miniatures game, which is looking very, very cool. It's going to be a big cooperative adventure, as you might have imagined, where you play out particular stories from the Lone Wolf saga. And as you can see, it's going to have miniatures. There was talk, interestingly, I think it was last year or the year before, of actually there being Lone Wolf miniatures out there in the world from a couple of different companies, actually. But obviously these ones are going to be the ones designed for the board game. Fingers crossed the ones based on the old Gary Chalk artwork also come out. That would be quite nice.
Well, I know Westphalia, we're talking to Gary about doing those at some point.
So,
because I know I've got one that's never been released.
I nearly swore. But yeah, some amazing miniatures there, as you can see, for some of the Warriors of Kai and stuff that you can throw into your games, and it'll be really fun to see where this goes. There's also been like a video game and all sorts of different things for Lone Wolf, so if you are interested in it and you want to give it a go, there's plenty of avenues to do so. You can also access a lot of the sort of older versions of the books online as well, which is quite nice. So you can go and play through some of the game books yourself and that kind of thing, and see what you think of it. But yeah, Lone Wolf, man, if you're not giving it a look and you like game books, check these out. So
one quick question, Ben.
Yes.
So the actual books, are they all going to be like physical books, or will we maybe see a Kindle edition?
Physical books. Although there may be digital versions as well. I don't know, but I know that the main focus has been on physical, because they did a series of they did hardback, and they're now moving through into doing the paperback versions of a lot of these as well. So I think that's their main focus, but you never know. There might be some Kindle versions.
Where have you brought us to now?
This is the Lone Wolf website.
Yeah.
Which is full of fire and flame.
If people want to know more about it, magaman.com.
Yes.
You can have a look at the various series there.
What? Can you go through any of the books on here, or?
I've not.
Here,
yeah.
No,
but it shows you things like the world that you're inhabiting and that sort of thing. So you
That's
can,
cool.
If you're completely unaware of what Lone Wolf is, this is a good place to come to have a look. And also
look at that nod to Hero Quest on the
Castle Death.
Yeah, on that cover.
Yeah. It's all good in the hood. But yeah, so
it's a very rich world full of interesting characters, and I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in role-playing games and stuff based around that.
Give it a look.
100%. 100%. Right. Diving back into the mists of our past rather than gaming past. With Footsore.
Yeah, so Footsore Miniatures and Andy and the gang have been working on bringing Gangs of Rome 2 to the tabletop. They're going to be coming to Kickstarter very soon. I think it's actually going to be later on this month in March, which is quite nice. For anyone who doesn't remember, Gangs of Rome was a great sort of skirmish game set in ancient Rome where you took on the role of, as you might have imagined by the title,
the mob.
Gangs of Rome.
You played a house dominus attempting to get to the upper echelons of society in the Senate.
Exactly.
And the best way to do that is by murking all of your opponents.
Killing people in the streets. Burning down temples, destroying their businesses and all sorts of things.
Or occasionally building temples.
Or building temples as well.
You appease the gods.
Yeah. But as well as kind of revamping and refreshing the rules, all the existing miniatures, I should add, are going to be available for you to use with this. So don't worry if you already have a whole bunch of Gangs of Rome stuff sitting around. It's still available and useful and stuff. But they're also going to be working on a series of new miniatures to go alongside the Kickstarter. And these are the Vigilis Urbani, which were the kind of firefighters / police of ancient Rome. They started off as mostly just being a slave, essentially, organization that was kind of banded together to kind of patrol the streets and that kind of thing. So if you got caught doing something bad, you could maybe get turned into a policeman, which is an interesting way of thinking about things.
I do like the sculpts because they have the lethal and like less lethal options.
Yes,
I do say less lethal
get with
because
my gladius or beat you up with my stick. Yeah.
So the stick might survive unless you really piss me off.
That's their firefighting equipment there.
Yeah,
a stick, a stick and a pick to pull the thatch down and beat it out.
Yeah. So as I say, these were essentially used as firefighters and police within ancient Rome. So they're going to be the perfect kind of foil, perhaps, to your gangs. Or maybe you can slip them a few denarii and get them on side to help you out in some of your endeavors. Interestingly, I was doing a little bit of research on them, thanks to Wikipedia. Lovely Wikipedia. And it was saying that they eventually did get turned into an actual organization of freedmen later on down the line. But when the Great Fire of Rome actually happened, they did very little actual firefighting and actually just looted like everybody else. Which,
it's the Blitz mentality.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, free shit.
Yep.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's the battle cry.
Yeah. So yeah, these are going to be available as part of the new Kickstarter. They've also been previewing a whole bunch of other stuff as well. If you're interested in Gangs of Rome, there's a link in the article to their Facebook group where you can go and see all the different previews that they've been showing off of some of the other characters they've been working on. And yeah, just keep an eye out for the Kickstarter, which is coming soon for this one. Gangs of Rome's a lot of fun, and it's a very different sort of ancient historical war game that I think people should be having a look at and stuff.
I think this might be a nice one to look at. Jerry, you know that we're doing our 4-week vlog cycle. Something like this, I think, could be fun to do for us.
I keep asking Lloyd to build my room, and Lloyd keeps saying no.
Yes. Well, it wasn't built in a day, so
it's not been built in the 4 years I've had it. Lloyd is very averse to building all my stuff, and I don't know why. But yeah, they're lovely looking sculpts as well.
They are lovely.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I seen there's some tweaks coming to the rules. But because a big selling point of the original Gangs of Rome was your gang members were randomly generated. So theoretically, no two should be the same.
Yeah.
Which means you could buy additional randomly generated cards for your to play your models as different gang fighters. I believe all of those are going to remain. So they may be changing the names or how some of the attributes or abilities work in game, but all of those existing fighters will still be usable in the second edition.
Cool.
That's the way you plan on going.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool stuff there. I think from Footsore. It's nice to see it back.
Yeah. Rome is the mob. Isn't that the way it goes? Pretty sure that's what it was. Just before I stabbed everybody up like Batman. All right. Warcradle are going all ancient Egyptian style.
Yeah, in a strange way. So one of the big new terrain kits that's coming out from Warcradle Scenics for the month of March was previewed last week is the Immortal Tombs terrain set. So this is going to be another one of their big pre-colored / pre-painted, however you want to say it, kits, which you just whack together with glue and away you go. Essentially, this one's been designed to kind of work as you were saying, Jerry, kind of ancient Egyptian / Stargate / Grimdarky Warhammer 40,000 Necrons.
Noncrons.
Noncrons, yeah.
just break out the texture paint and go right over the top of that circuitry.
Yeah, you could do, very easily. Yeah. So this is a set of so you've got the big pyramid, you've got obelisks, you've got tombs, you've got walls and all sorts of different things. So it's essentially a really great way for you to build yourself a big kind of ancient settlement on some lost, forgotten world. So if you're looking to send, for example, the Death Watch in to cleanse a Xenos ruin, or maybe you're a research team of the Adeptus Mechanicus who are trying to work out what secrets lie within these vaults, maybe this would be good fun for setting up some interesting scenarios and stuff on the tabletop. As I say as well, all of this stuff is kind of pre-colored and ready to go, so you just whack it together with glue and away you go. Should be quite nice, as I say, for grimdarky stuff, but you could use it for a whole host of other games as well. I'd love to use this as some kind of exploratory mission in something like Stargrave. So maybe set your games, instead of them being on kind of like an inner sort of rim planet or something, have it set out in the far distance of the galaxy as your crews are running into interesting stuff. Maybe to do with that, maybe work it in with that new supplement that's coming out for Stargrave, which is all about
Side
weird
hustle?
and wonderful stuff.
No, Side Hustle's the card deck. The next one,
Yeah, the next one where they've got like weird alien traps and stuff in it and all sorts of things like that. I think this terrain would be perfect for something like that.
Just wondering if you just airbrush like a glowy line
around
all that, and then just get a big chrome marker and then just go back in the middle and go chrome all the way around.
Maybe.
So you've got the glue on either side.
That would work quite nicely.
I'm just thinking about an easy way of doing it if you're going to go sci-fi. I still say just go over the top with texture paint and use these for fantasy.
You've got a big old
historical
Egyptian-y / Tomb Kingsy city, essentially.
Weirdly, getting big gateways like that is relatively tricky for fantasy and historics. In 28, it's not the most reproduced, shall we say?
That's true.
Version. Whenever you look at doing sort of historic and fantasy, you tend to get very European stuff on a large amount of times, and finding Mediterranean or Egyptian or Near Eastern less so.
Although I will say, if you wanted to go a little crazy with this, because it's all HDF, everything there is going to be hollow. So all of those circuit boards, you could actually go in, bore out the circles, and put in some LEDs and do a little circuit board in behind and light them up very easily.
Take it to the next level.
I'll leave that to you. Once Lloyd's got my room built, then you.
Does Lloyd have your room to build it?
No, it's all sitting here. He won't take it off my hands. He keeps saying no. Actually, he doesn't say no.
First problem.
He keeps saying other words that are short as well.
All the materials are there. The workman's just not turned up to do anything with it.
Just the worst.
I will also say that the Immortal Tombs set is all going to be available separately as well in the future. So you can either buy the big bundle at the moment, or you can wait and pick up each of the individual terrain elements separately, and away you go. Have some fun with that, because it's the same thing as they've done with the rest of their Warcradle Scenics collections and things.
Yeah, and there are some good like Necron-esque battle mats out there as well that you
very
can grab.
much so. Yeah.
Sweet. Corvus Belly doing something a little bit different.
Yeah. So they like diving into sort of quirky board games occasionally, I suppose. They've done ones that are very much more in keeping with them, I guess, currently. Yeah. So they've done their Infinity version. They did they've done the Warcradle Adventures set and stuff. Aristeia and things. But this one is set within the world of Infinity. But it's a little bit different. So this is a family weight board game that's coming out called REM Racers, and REM stands for remote. So in this game, which works for 2 to 5 players, this is going straight to retail, by the way. There's no Kickstarters or game fans or anything involved with this one. When you dive into this game, you will take on the role of a racer, and then you'll plug your character into the remote. It's like a little game console thing. It's so cool for your particular remote of choice. And then you will race around the track. As you might have imagined, the aim of the game is to come in first. Who would have thought it in a racing game, right? But as you're zooming around on the tabletop, you'll be able to use the special abilities of your REM racers as they zoom around the little remotes. And use like little special weapons and all sorts of different things, and ramming and that kind of stuff. All the little templates you see, those kind of like red-orange things, they're used for maneuvering on the track. So you'll be able to zip through people, or glide around corners and all that kind of thing as well. And then you have little templates for like flamethrowers and mines and all that kind of stuff. Things, but things quite
like nice. Mario Kart.
Yeah, it's like Mario Kart, but set in the Infinity universe. That would be the best way of it describing it.
I do have to say, the voiceover for the trailer is pure cheese.
Well, yes, but I think the game is fairly cheesy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't imagine this as like the adults of the Infinity Universe. You imagine this as a bunch of like kids in the Infinity Universe on a back alleyway that have just like spray painted out a track. Yes. And they're each working on it at home, and it's almost like one of the old like Beyblade cartoons where it's just them working their stuff up.
Yeah. Essentially, I see this as this could easily have been turned into a Saturday morning cartoon, probably somewhere. But yeah, I think this looks like it could actually be quite a lot of fun. I like the idea of them using the universe of Infinity to kind of go off in different directions.
Yeah, explore what's happening when it isn't just a war.
Exactly. Yeah. And clearly somebody within their design department was like, I've got a really cool idea. And they went, let's see if it works. And I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, but it's a lighter, cuter, funnier side to the Infinite Universe, which is normally quite hefty.
I'm now waiting for Infinity Horror Edition. I'm waiting for that proper...
Oh my god!
Holy crap! I'm scared out of my pants. There's like a weird.
They hit all the genres
thing behind me.
Yeah, well, are you wanting like a horror dungeon crawler for Infinity then?
Oh man, that's it. Just that
being stalked by like an Aleph bot or something that's gone wrong.
They've clearly got the world. There's bound to be, if you can do something cute and fun like that, and then have regular Infinity, there's bound to be something on the other end of the spectrum that we all want to see soon.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, surely you could be like breaking into an Aleph laboratory with like an elite crew, just seeing what horrible experiments and historical figures they're bringing back to life.
Just take the body horror elements of Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah,
I just really plug that with a load of cyberpunk thrown into it.
Carlos, there's your next idea.
Carlos,
give John a call.
So presumably the little controllers, then you set your speed and things like that.
Yeah. So it's got little dials on the
at the
side.
Same time. Yeah. And then
and all your movement seems to be template based
and stuff. And you've got each of the little remotes has different special abilities and things that it does. So you can mix and match things, which I think is quite nice. So there's a modular element to it. Also, the track looks like it. Obviously breaks down into modular elements. So you can change the track up in different ways. It seems like something that you could easily expand as well. So if they wanted to throw in more racers or more track ideas and that kind of thing, they could do that in the future. So I think this seems like a really cool idea. I'd like to give it a go at the least.
Well, look at it this way, John. If you wanted to do any painting on this, you could paint them as F1 teams. F1, do Ferrari, do Red Bull.
You can't do Ferrari because they catch fire. You can't do Mercedes because they'll not stay in a straight line. You can't do Haas because they'll be in a wall. You can't do Alfa Romeo because they'll be upside down.
This is why these companies don't exist anymore in the Infinity universe.
This is why Formula One does not translate into board game. Or never should.
One mistake and you are gone.
You mean they all stayed on the track for the duration of the entire game? I don't think so.
I haven't seen a race like that in years.
Or where the car doesn't just go, I'm done, break down.
Right. Interesting REM Racers then. One called Lightspeed, I think is cheating. If it's moving at Lightspeed, what are the rest doing? I see a flaw in their plan right off the bat. But moving away from the world of Infinity, Mantic are revisiting an old friend. So they've announced Dungeon Saga Origins. Which is both a reboot, a revamp, a prequel, a new way to play it, so much and more and less. We don't know yet because they haven't really given us too much to go on. All we know is so far that it will be a prequel to the existing Dungeon Saga as far as story and characters go. So the original characters are all back, which means Orlaf the Barbarian gets to smash face and Madriga the Magician gets to go, why are you doing that? Please stop doing that. Like, will you not protect me? Oh my God, I'm going to die. You failed us.
I just remember our first Let's Play of this, rips the loincloth off, runs screaming into the dungeon, and then all you hear is a little, help.
That is a standard tactical maneuver. But Dungeon Saga, the original game, was essentially a classic dungeon crawler. As Ronnie said, there are an awful lot of games out there now that are dungeon crawlers with more layers of complexity and more layers of depth in them, which are great for people who played the original Hero Quest style dungeon crawler 40 years ago and are now 30, 40 years older and want to play something with more depth, but there wasn't really anything in the market for somebody to go, here kids, this is a fantasy dungeon crawler that I sort of got me started. So the idea with Dungeon Saga Origins is a bit of a revamp and an easy access point for people to get essentially their kids or younger siblings into gaming without having to go, well, here's all these very complex rules, keep the rules light, bright and easy to play through. I think the fact that they're revisiting it and going with the same figures again, but let's go a bit bigger.
There are bigger images of them in the post as well.
All right, cool. Means if you've never played Dungeon Saga, then obviously it's a good start. I know some people were complaining about the original Dungeon Saga stuff being a bit too small, which I didn't really find unless you were attempting to reuse it somewhere else. And even then, the skeletons were about the right size for human skeletons inside a body. So again, not really a major issue for me. But they have said that the original sort of gameplay is going to be tweaked and sort of streamlined a bit. So it'll be fascinating to see where they go with it. The miniatures, the renders look fantastic, and based on the last work they did with Hellboy and League of Infamy, they're a real step up from the Dungeon Saga, which were their first sort of board game pieces.
Yeah, these are looking lovely.
And Walking Dead as well.
I do have to wonder, one of my favorite things whenever this game first came out was all of the lovely two-dimensional or the 2.5D terrain that came along with it. I hope we're going to see a lot more of that in this, because that was one of the really nice little flavor pieces in it.
Based on the fact that Terrain Crate is a thing for Mantic, I would be very surprised if we don't see bookshelves and tombs and thrones and that sort of thing.
Yeah. For me, it made the game a little nicer than what else was out at the time.
Yeah. But yeah, it'd be fascinating to see where they take this as far as it's a zombie troll. The zombie trolls for them in the original were really nice anyway. And then that's a Basilian men at arms. They're all scumbags anyway, so it doesn't matter that he's undead now.
So he probably deserved to die and get resurrected?
Oh, very much so. Well, 100%. 100%, although armored zombies, difficult to get past. But yeah, so revamping the original core set, good, like it. Interesting to see what direction they take it. I know some people have been asking for solo and cooperative and build your own and all sorts of things. So I imagine we'll hear more next week. Ronnie's planning on doing some Q&A videos.
He is. Yeah. This weekend's going to be a big thing with Ronnie. I think they're going to have a chat about it and stuff. So.
Definitely going to have to try and stop off with them whenever Salute rolls around, see if they have any news there or maybe anything to show off there.
Yeah. But this, oh my God, this makes me tingle all over, as Jesse would say.
The Twilight Kin are coming with their own expansion.
Twiglets are getting an expansion, so we know that this will be available for Origins. But this will also be the first glimpse at the idea for Twiglets for Kings of War as a whole, so Kings of War and Vanguard, because the evil elves for Kings of War are tied to the Night Stalkers and the sort of the Nightmare Realm. When the mirror was shattered and everything went wrong. So up until now, they've been a sort of a sub-list that were more or less added in for people who had come from Warhammer and were looking to use their Dark Elves. This moves them away from just being a sort of a pastiche or a pale imitation or a mirror of that into something incredibly different. I don't know what these guys are, but I love the ethereal hands becoming horns on their helmets. They're absolutely ridiculously big. Obviously, the Zoom pups down front there. Actually, they might be Reapers. I
love the idea of like big, heavily armored dark elves, rather than them being like as lithe as their nicer kin. I like the idea of the big, chunky warriors. I think that's really cool.
It feels like magical construct. Meat shield wall.
It's entirely possible it's not a dark elf in there.
It could actually, it could just
who knows what's in there? I mean,
the souls of fallen enemies.
You could quite happily cram something squidgy in the middle of that armor and don't worry about it creeping around the place.
Has to be a goblin.
No, it will not be a goblin. So the Twiglets will be getting their first look with
many goblins
with Origins, so people will be able to see some sort of. We've had a few pen and ink. Little pencily bits, sketches and doodles about the Twiglets, but we haven't really seen the direction Mantic are planning on taking, and they're getting a full army release later on this year, so this will be a good indication of what's coming. And it means if they do sort of update the miniature line for Dungeon Saga, you'll have a whole host of miniatures that can be used then for Kings of War and Vanguard as well. So it's a nice way you can sort of step into the dungeon crawler, upgrade to Vanguard for the skirmish, and then if you enjoy yourself, jump right on into the full-on massed battle.
If you want to see how it originally played, by the way, we do. There's you can check out our original Let's Play series that we did for Dungeon Saga.
A playlist with a very, very young Justin.
Yeah.
All fresh-faced and shiny. I mean,
I'm still shiny.
Look how shiny that is. What's going on with him?
I mean, I haven't changed that much.
That was 7 years ago.
I haven't changed that much in 7 years.
Yeah.
Your eyes have gotten duller.
I was going to say you can see the shine in the eyes there.
The hope.
Been ground out. The hope, hope is still there. The future was ahead of you.
The set hasn't changed all that much since then.
No, it's just changed at all.
Just shifted slightly. Everything is shifted slightly to one side.
Careful, Lloyd's going to tell you off for doing that.
Oh.
Hey, we saw his walls last week.
That's true.
Oh, man. Right. Sticking with fantasy, but going a bit more the steampunk.
Yes.
With everybody's favourite Kharadron Overlords.
Yeah, so the Kharadron Overlords are going to be getting their big new release for Warhammer Age of Sigmar this weekend. So if you're diving in and you want to pre-order yourselves some new models for your Duardin of the Skies, then you can make sure to go and do that over on store.ontabletop.com.
How much?
Do that. But yeah, so this is going to be coming. Well, the new miniatures coming out for the Code Right, which is essentially the rules lawyer of the Kharadron Overlords that we looked at in a couple of previews ago, which is looking quite nice. A lot of people said they're going to be using him as a Blood Bowl referee, which I think is a really nice way of taking
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But on top of that, there's also going to be their new Vanguard set that's coming out. So this comes with a whole host of bits and pieces for you to build up your first armies and use them in the game. Comes with the Arcanaut Admiral, which is that chap in the center, alongside the 10-man Arcanaut Company, three Edrin Riggers, or Skywardens, however you want to go with it. And then there's also the Arcanaut Frigate in there as well. So this has been designed a little bit like their combat patrols for Warhammer 40,000. As for you to a way to kind of just get started with the game, really, with a bunch of core troops, a character, and something a little bit special at the same time. All of the new rules are going to be coming out as part of their new battle tome as well. So this is the standard fodder from Games Workshop. So it's going to be updated with all of their new rules and things for the Kharadron Overlords. You can buy it in 2 flavors. You can buy it in the collector's edition or the normal one. I think the normal one looks fine. Just get that one. And there's also going to be updated Path to Glory rules in there as well. So if you want to take your characters through a more narrative campaign, you can. You're also going to be able to pick up all the additional gubbins that you tend to get with new armies. So you're going to get your new War Scroll cards and your tokens and stuff. And there's also the new dice. I think the dice looking quite nice. I like that kind of orange and black look to them. These could also be quite nice for use with the Leagues of Votan, I think, as well.
I still wish they would do a data card equivalent for 40k.
Well, yeah, but they change far more often.
Yeah.
but yeah, that's true. That'd be quite nice. So a whole bunch of stuff for the Kharadron Overlords coming out. You're getting everything you need to essentially get started with them on the tabletop. The other big thing that they've actually announced is these Regiments of Renown. So you know how some games have kind of like themed lists or like themed options that you throw into the mix?
Yeah, Kings of War has formations.
Yeah, so formations in Kings of War, in like War Machine, you can take particular units and they'll allow you to create theme forces and that kind of thing. Well, Games Workshop are trying to do the same thing with these Regiments of Renown. So the idea is that you get, for example, in a lot of these sets, a character alongside a selection of troops, and then they can be bolted into your army for a particular faction. So in this case, the Soulblight Gravelords, and it will come at like a cost of points essentially, but it'll give you a ready-made set of additional troops with some special rules attached to them at the same time.
They do something a little bit different than if you just bought them straight from the list.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a little mercenary edition, kind of going down the idea of like Dogs of War-y style thing, I suppose, really. If you want
the classic Regiments of Renown.
Or the classic Regiments of Renown. Exactly, yes. So you get a couple of different ones. So you've got ones for the Soulblight Gravelords, the Disciples of Zench have got one as well. There's one for your kind of classic Cities of Sigmar too. So there's like a rune throng of dwarves.
Well, it would be, wouldn't it?
So, of course there is.
Yeah, I say that, yeah.
With all the models that came out in 8th and then lasted for about a minute. There we go. Not that I'm bitter.
No, well,
and then you've got a whole host of other ones as well that are coming out for this. All of the specific rules for the Regiments of Renown are available for free over on the Warhammer community website. So if you want to find out how they all work in terms of being bolted into your armies and things and their special rules and stuff, you can just go and grab those online, which is quite nice. So you're not going to have to get them in like a separate book or anything like that. But I assume this will be just quite a nice little way for people to kind of be like, I collect Sylvaneth. I'd like to kind of bulk it up with something a little bit more special. I'll throw in Elwyn's Thorns, or, maybe they collect Cruel Boys and they want to, throw some more orcs into the mix.
Not a bad idea, to be honest.
It's I collect A, which has no shooting and magic. Corn, we're looking at you. I would like some Dark Elf bolt throwers. We've been here before.
So it's an interesting way for them kind of like to mix things up and things. And it'll be, I don't know how long of a lived idea this is going to be. It may just be a little bit of a flash in the pan thing, but if it takes off and people are like these, it might be quite nice. It also might also be a good way for you to pick up a bunch of models for an army that you potentially might think of playing.
It lets you get a taster that you can still use,
which is kind of cool.
Let us have that for 40k as well.
Let
me legally
Allies.
Let me legally run proper Sisters of Battle alongside my Cadians or something like that without saying, hey, you're losing a lot of some of your special rules by doing that. That would be a good improvement. Hey, fingers crossed for 10th.
Well, yeah, should be coming later this year. So
it's an interesting concept. I'm a little bit sad that they didn't actually go with proper regiments of renown. Like Prince Uther with his dad's stolen bedpost as his banner, and have a unique sculpted regiment.
Yeah.
Rather than just because they're already regiments that are out there. But then I suppose if you've already got access to some of them sitting about, then you can just tack in the new rules to use them in a new way in your game. So it's swings and roundabouts. You game with one, you lose with the other. Menkles manflayers, please. Everybody likes to see humans skinned.
Well, the old world is coming back, so you never know. So,
don't worry, I've got 30 of them up there. They're a great regiment to tack in and just make your opponent's life a living hell.
If Kryptonians returned.
Yeah, well, it's a brave new world, the old world. That's what they tell me.
It's a brave new old world.
Right, that is enough news. I'm fully sated. Thank you, Ben.
Yay.
We shall take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be rounding off the show with some 3D printing and Kickstarters.
Yay.
Okay, we are back, and we're going to be taking some look at 3D printing.
Yeah.
There's at least one person who's interested in 3D printing right there.
Better be a good one this week.
I think it's good.
Okay.
Cool.
So we're going to be taking a look at Wargames Atlantic's digital.
Yes.
Both the sneak peek of what's coming and also their February releases.
Yeah. So some of their releases for Atlantic Digital came out a little bit later for the month of February. I mean, we're in March now, but there you go. They are releasing a lot of stuff, though, so that's probably why it took a little while. But they've been adding a few more bits and pieces onto their store for you to dive into and have a look at, namely pretty much everything you see on that top row, more or less. So we've seen a nice sort of dearth of different things added for sort of sci-fi, fantasy, historical, and everything in between at the same time as well. All of these obviously designed as 3D printable kits, so you can get these and whack them onto your 3D printer and away you go. But there's a whole host of awesome miniatures and things that you could use to add to your collections, especially if you've been picking up historical armies, ancient armies and things over the last little while. So you've got things like these pharaohs, which I think are looking absolutely awesome. Wouldn't have to do too much to them to turn them into fantasy or even sci-fi characters potentially either, which is quite nice. Maybe buzzing around in those immortal tombs that we looked at earlier.
Go for Stargate. Cool. Pick up SG1 from Hassle-Free.
Exactly.
Get them to shoot them repeatedly in the head with a P90.
But again, lots of detail built into these and things, which is always nice to see. As you can see there, they've got a bunch of pardon me. They've got a bunch of larger sets as well that have kind of been done for sort of multi-parts and that kind of thing. One of my favorites is this one, which is the Priest set. Considering we've just seen previews recently for this, the Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe, which looks freaking awesome. This stuff was very cool. And again, could easily be used for something historical, set in a medieval period or the Renaissance or something, or you could use it as something up to date because you got guns and all sorts in there as well. And what's more badass than being able to carry a sword and a gun at the same time and fight demons? I think. Well,
if they made a sword gun.
Well, yes, if it was Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VIII or something.
Those exist.
Yeah, actually there are. Yes, that's very true. But you got some characters in there that wouldn't look out of place in a Dan Brown novel as well, which I thought was quite neat, or a Dan Brown movie potentially.
You could throw them in with your Spanish War of Independence, the Spanish Civil War,
or if you wanted to do a little 7TV for some Three Musketeers fun.
Yes, same as well. Or the good thing about a lot of the stuff to do with religion is that it doesn't really change very much. So
tradition, how we love you.
Yeah, so it fits into all sorts of different time periods, and I think this would be an awesome little collection for playing out some pulpy games on the tabletop, which is quite nice. You also got the slightly larger unit packs as well. So you've got the ones for the cultists, the sacrifices, and then the Deathfield Valkyries as well, which are really nice. So again, covering kind of fantasy, history, and sci-fi all at the same time.
That's an exciting one.
The Maori Warriors one is really good. I've always liked the idea of diving into kind of like Pacific Islander warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a couple of games out there that do that.
Primal.
But
and
yeah.
Maori, I think, is the supplement for Primal.
Yes, yeah. I think that the models are fantastic for that kind of setting and range, and you can have a lot of fun with them, I think. Yeah. And
there's enough tribal weapons that you could do Maori tribal warfare, or with the addition of some black powder in there, you could do the colonial wars then.
Exactly. And
the Maori and British start kicking off.
This is before all the Maoris were recruited by Weta to be Urukai for Lord of the Rings.
Just before them.
Yeah.
I think there's a Maori list in Blood and Steel, he said, looking for his book.
Because they have the Maori Wars in there, don't they?
Yeah. So it's the right time period.
Yeah. So, get your hands on these, get them printed off, and because of the multi-part nature of them, you can create yourself some interesting skirmishing warbands or full units and stuff as well on the tabletop, which is quite nice.
I mean, if you're facing one set of Maoris with just traditional weapons and someone has a shotgun, who do you think's going to win?
You'd be
the
surprised.
Traditional weapons, because your shotgun has finite ammunition.
Yeah.
Also, they ran into problems where the climate, because it was very humid, damp a lot of the time. They ran into problems with warpage and filing powder and all sorts of things. That's interesting that they've gone with like
the half face mask things.
Yeah, which presumably is there to make life easier for people who don't want to have to paint all the very intricate tattoo work onto the Maori.
But it looks raised, which is odd.
Well, because it's sculpted.
Okay.
It's not meant to be a mask. It's like buying a banner, Justin, that has the eagle and everything, the stuff already on it. It's just there as a kind of a painting guide kind of thing.
Okay.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
If you don't shade it, you'll not know.
Yeah.
That guy looks like he's carrying a paintbrush as well.
Also, I imagine, like many things with 3D print and renders in general, the renders are often overemphasized because you have shrinkage in print or casting. So they're not as pronounced when you get the final result through.
You'll find that to be a lot shallower than it looks.
Probably. There's some of the Maori in different
great set there. That's perfect for colonial war stuff then.
So yeah, some great stuff there.
Nice.
The Aztecs is quite nice. So you've got like a sacrifice set.
I love this. They've already done some additional Aztec pieces. To add into the Aztec plastics that they do anyway. So here's now just a different set, and presumably then you can mix and match these with the plastics anyway, so you get some more body types.
Something for your conquistadors to go up against.
Aztec abacus. You tally up how many people you've killed.
How happy have I made the gods today?
Yeah, I quite like the idea. I like that you've got quite. Obviously, the set's been designed so that you can make things like the high priest and the helpers and stuff.
Yes.
I think there's quite a nice set of bodies in there for making the guys playing the game that they play, with the ball and stuff, which would then
the street game.
Who would get sacrificed?
Where the losing team gets sacrificed. Yeah,
it was the winners that got sacrificed.
Was it? Oh,
you don't want losers.
No.
Oh, the gods would be very annoyed. You may as well just go out and find any coward.
Fair enough. Honestly, there is only one thing I would love to see added to this, and that would be a pair of arms that would sit bound behind the person. Because that way you could have the couple of ones that are running, like, just lagging it from being sacrificed.
To run away from the temple,
go full apocalypto.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not far off it already.
You've even got some Olympic torch bearers as well. There.
Yep, that's where it started. The Olympic torch procession started in Mesoamerica with the Aztecs. Not a lot of people know that. Where's Warren for his historical facts?
I'm sure there's some dude on YouTube for it.
Yeah,
I imagine there is.
There's in the set of fantasy cultists.
Cultists.
So whether you're playing something Conan based, or you're venturing into Frostgrave or
Stargrave, or not Stargrave.
Even
Stargrave / what we were talking about earlier, the SG1 ones, Stargate, because they're screaming Horace masks, paint them up super metallic.
So you've got a whole host of awesome, quirky looking models in there that could be used to represent both the cultists and the guards of the cultists as well, which I think is quite nice.
As we learned earlier, never summon before you've learned bind.
I mean, that one time you were invited to the party and felt underdressed.
Yeah.
I really like the beaky looking heads on them.
So where's the bowl that we put our keys?
There's a guy just really happy in his life.
Yeah. It's always better to be a sacrificer rather than the sacrificee.
Very true. Yeah. But,
that and whoever has the biggest hat is clearly most important.
True.
So I think this would be quite nice if you mix this in alongside maybe the cultist kits from Frostgrave and North Star and things, and you could have some really fun. You could have a really fun time with that. Or of course, you could just use it as leader models or elite figures within your armies potentially as well. I think it's quite nice.
Did I miss the Valkyries?
So the last one's the Valkyries, which is the sci-fi set for the month of February through into March. So it's a set of bewinged ladies in either exosuits, or maybe they're just entirely mechanical, save their heads. Who knows? I suppose. And they are. Rather than just simply retrieving the honourable dead from the battlefield, I think these ladies probably murder a lot of people.
Make the dead.
They make the dead, yes.
That, or, with those big clamps, John, maybe they're not retrieving people, but retrieving tanks.
I'd love to see that flamer. I wonder if that flamer's in here somewhere. Because they're all quite interesting. The body itself is very Vulture from Spider-Man.
From Spider-Man,
yeah. I do like the big glaive weapons.
It's they're the kind of weapons that you could do a lot of nice things with glow effects on, I think. I love that as well, using the wing of a shield.
She's gone full Batfink. Yeah. Wings are like a shield of steel. Yeah. Oh, they need to release a karate now as well. I mean, where's the flamer? That. Show me the flamer. I will cut you, Wargames Atlantic, if you don't show me the flamer.
Charlie's in a corner somewhere crying. So
he's meant to be coming
getting to weapons now.
Next month.
Gunny guns.
There's the flame.
Flame.
Yeah.
I want it from another direction.
Shame.
Annoyingness, you. I wonder if that has to be done like that, or if the flame is optional. Because
you can always snip it off as well, can't you?
I suppose so, yeah. But if it's all billowy from the front vent, from the
I
don't know what the front of a. No, but let's go with vent. Yeah, if you cut that off, you're gonna have to remodel it. See, there it is, there being all gloopy
flame.
But I think these would look really nice. I think they'd come together really well and very quickly as well, especially if you went with like a blue metallic or something for the body armor and the wings and things. I think it'd be quite nice.
You two can lean into the Thor Ragnarok feel of a Valkyrie.
Yeah, drop them into your
while playing the Immigrant Song. Yeah. Really
drop them into all manner of different sci-fi armies. I suggest, alongside the Einherjar and stuff like that, and maybe use them with your space dwarves and things. That'd be quite cool.
Filthy space dwarves.
But yeah, so that's kind of a look at what they've got coming out kind of February-ish. But March is also going to bring a whole host of new miniatures as well. So they're going to be doing what they're calling the Imaginations.
It's a classic.
So it's looking at putting alternative models into history and things like that. And a lot of the focus for March is going to be on female miniatures within historical settings. And one of these is going to be some Napoleonic, as you can see there, Women's Guard for use in your games. I just thought it was quite a nice little touch. And sort of going with the idea of what if stories and things like that and throwing them into your game. So, especially if you're playing something like Silver Bayonet, I think these kind of models would be really fun for that. Especially if they do some of them that aren't necessarily as rank and file as these ones as well, which would be really cool.
The Imaginations are an interesting one because it's a very old concept in wargaming. It's very much what Warren wants to do with historics, but we've never really broached the subject with him about imagination. So you would essentially create your own world, your own political power structure within the period of 18th century warfare, 16th century. Right. So you have the same technological level. You don't add any fantasy creatures. You just create a fantasy world with fantasy imaginations. So none of the nations, you wouldn't be going British against French. You'd be going, well, my Duke Feffel of Fnarfnar has been looking to wage war.
Oh, that sounds like a Nordic country.
on the tyrannical Dunder Mifflin Confederation. and you would do this, and you would play your games, and it would be exactly straight laced as if you were playing a historic game, but over time,
just set
you and your group would change the political outlook of the world you're playing in, and you would have these,
geopolitics of unreal estate.
Yeah, that type of thing. The way you would sometimes, often you'll get people who play a lot of fantasy and sci-fi who won't get into historics in certain periods or eras because they don't want to be playing a nation that did harsh stuff. Let's face it.
So any of them
really avoided that over the years.
So any of them.
Yeah, but depending, you'll get people who go, I wouldn't play World War II because it's too close or blah blah blah. With this, you can play the style of warfare without any of the baggage connected to a specific nation or country or nation state or whatever it happens to be. So I've always liked the imagination stuff, and it used to be very big. And there's still lots of groups kicking around Facebook and all sorts these days. Even old people like me have worked out how to use the face pages. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what else they do beyond just the female Napoleonic soldiers there.
Kind of like when your model UN club fails. You go to imagination and play out your eventual war.
Totally.
Well, I mean, I just imagine Jerry sitting in front of an Excel spreadsheet working out what the monthly grain income is from his southern regions to see how much, to see what is the trading power, the GDP of Fnarfnar.
It can be. I mean, it's one of these things. It can be as deep or as light touch as you want. If you just want to name your place, name your commanders, and then just play away, you can do that. If you want to draw out the whole maps and everything else and watch them change over time, that is also very doable. But yeah, I'm interested to see, especially when it comes to things like cavalry and the likes as well, because they've not done much in the way of cavalry yet, and they've a few other bits and pieces like the army builder packs for the Prussians. So whether or not we get some alternative pieces that you can mix in with those to expand it,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah. Watch out for more from Wargames Atlantic over the next month or so.
Yeah,
lots of things on the horizon.
Assuming Charlie isn't too worried about coming across now, he may be over at the end of March to.
Well, there we go.
Talk and film some stuff.
And basically dive tackle John going, I missed you.
What can I say?
What we all do. We all do, John. Right. We have a pair of Kickstarters to finish off the show. And the first one up is...
Well, the first one up is actually a game found, I suppose, actually. So.
Well, a couple of campaigns then. How about that? All the campaigns all the time. This is Huang from Phalanx.
And you can get your hands on the Huang.
I had so much of this when Warren was on and I was talking about.
I'm sorry, it's infectious.
Yeah. So we've actually played through this. John, Shay, James, Justin, and myself.
No, I wasn't there.
Were you not there?
No, I just edited it. So I do know how it plays. I just didn't get to play that day. I'm really sad. There's so much editing to do these days. I don't get to play as many games as I used to.
Oh, well. That's
we'll make more for you.
Yeah. You can live vicariously through us. So it's a reskin of Yellow River Yangtze.
Yellow and Yangtze.
Yeah. Game by Rainer
Knizia was the original. Well, is the
developer. Yeah. Whereas this moves it into the warring states of China, and it's an interesting game because sometimes you can get tactical games like this with tile placement where you can double down or lean into a specific style of play. You just go full warlord and run over everybody like the Mongol Empire, or you just take all the money off the board or all the grain, whatever it happens to be. But when you're building your foundation for your kingdom, you're having to sort of split your vision for your territory, shall we say, between military, trading, artisans, district governors. And at the end of the game, you take the lowest value that you've managed to accumulate. So you've got to keep your eye on 5 spinning plates across the nation, so to speak, while at the same time keeping an eye on what your opponents are up to. Because if one of them comes too close and you end up clashing, you could lose a big chunk of your territory, or you can lose time and resources to trying to stave off an invasion, or just, the wealth just disappears shockingly. So it's not asymmetric in the forces that you have, although there is a certain amount of asymmetry with the sort of gameplay. But your factions are always trying to run this sort of balancing act between them, which I really, really enjoyed playing.
See, the interesting thing from having watched through it, Jerry, was seeing how everyone else was playing it. They were fighting between each other for all the different resources. You just went off on your own and went, no, I have the Golden Pagoda. It's all wild. It's just all the Golden Pagoda.
Well, there were two reasons for that. One, I accidentally ran into Shay early on and lost a big chunk of my warlord and territory and power. And secondly, I never seem to get, because you're having to deal with 5 resources constantly, even 5 build types. The Golden Pagoda, the lucky Golden Pagoda, allows you to substitute those resources at the end for any coloured victory point, so you can try and rebalance. So if you're at a deficit, it's not a great way to play the game, but it certainly had some elasticity to pull me back into contention a bit. But yeah, the core game comes as cardboard tiles and standees, but there are upgrades. So there's a deluxe version that replaces the standees with a whole host of miniatures, if miniatures are your thing, and I believe they'll be
clans.
So they're anthropomorphized.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. That's a good word. But it's still the actual Chinese territories of that kingdom period. So I quite like what they've done with this, where you can buy in at a lower value, and the lower value isn't particularly expensive anyway. In the deluxe values, I think it's like €45 for basic, and then your deluxe is 60.
Which is a massive gap anyway, to be honest.
No, it's not massive. But you can also go in and get a few other bits and pieces that you can upgrade. The GameFound campaign includes things like I think it's a linen mat or a cloth mat.
Yeah, you've got a game mat in there. And a couple of additional upgrade options as well, I think, for it as well. So.
It adds a 5th player for free, gratis. So you can play 4-player standard when it hits retail. 5th player in the GameFound version is free. And then there's an expansion as well, which I think is GameFound exclusive, if memory serves. It has been a little while since I've had a nosy through it.
Shipping doesn't seem too egregious.
No, not at the moment. As long as there's not another massive shutdown.
It's a tight little game as well, packed into quite a neat little box, which is good.
So as you can see, rules available in multi-languages, which you can already go in and download. You can play a tabletop simulator, or you can watch us chumps batter through it, ably assisted, thankfully, by the delightful James from Phalanx. So if you're not a native English speaker, there's plenty of other versions of it up there already to watch too. There we are. Look at us go.
Yeah.
Look at Shay's smug grin. I bet there will be a smug grin, Shay. Look at him sitting beside me. Look how smug he is all the time. There's me desperate trying to work out what colours things are.
What, can you still see the waves of smug flowing up?
Emanating. Anytime we play with Shay at all, ever, there's just waves of smug just laying off him.
I watched him beating you up in Bot War this week, which was quite funny.
Son of a gun. But yeah, we'll say no more about that. But yeah, a tight little campaign from Phalanx, and a really fun game as well. Nice, self-contained, and deeply, deeply strategic as well. I don't even think we began to scrape the surface.
It's nice to see Knizia's stuff still going strong as well, because I know that like Yellow and Yangtze and Tigris and Euphrates have kind of languished a little bit in the background. Yeah. But it's nice to see them being redeveloped or revamped in certain ways and brought to the tabletop again and stuff. So
I think this was one of the things I've seen somebody saying that they'd heard about Yellow and Yangtze, but hadn't managed to pick it up. Whereas if that's the sort of gameplay you're after, then you can grab this and get it at a very reasonable price. So yeah, it's an absolute cracking little thing. 6 days left on that. So
only 6.
Only 6. If you're interested, you can go ahead and grab it. If you want to wait, it will be hitting retail later. But like I say, you'll miss out on a few things, or you may have to pay for the additional expansion. But otherwise, you go, be all that you can be in ancient China. Get the golden pagoda. Just lucky pagoda. It's all the way. We're going to stay in the Orient
We are, yes.
And take a look at some miniatures from Studio Historia.
Yeah, so moving from China, from ancient China, to World War II Japan. And this was one that Lloyd actually spotted and was like, hey, this would be cool to talk about. But he's not here to talk about it now. Anyway, so this is Studio Historia, as Jerry was saying, who have brought us the Sons of Yamato, the Imperial Japanese forces at war from World War II. So this is your island hopping and all that kind of good stuff happening over in the Pacific, with a whole range of new both 3D printable miniatures and also physical releases for these Japanese soldiers. So they've all been designed to mimic the Japanese army from the period of 1939 through to 1942. And all scaled to 28mm as well, so they should work alongside a lot of other miniature ranges out there. They show some comparisons to a lot of the stuff from Warlord, for example, and it matches up very nicely indeed. And so throughout the collection, they've got a whole host of different miniatures that you could use for building up essentially your entire Japanese force on the tabletop. They've done HQs, they've done troops, like so all your standard infantry, with a range of specialist weapons in there as well. So you've got grenadiers, you've got machine gun teams. You've seen there in some of the images, you've got trucks and boats and things that they're also working towards as well.
No tanks?
Pardon, sorry?
No tanks?
No tanks as far as I could see when I was looking through the campaign, although they might have decided to add them in later on, I suppose. But, I quite like the fact that they basically just gone, hey, we're just going to do all the bulk force of everything.
Well, I mean,
we were kind of standing in front and stuff. So, yeah.
On a lot of the islands, certainly the smaller ones, there weren't any tanks.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So obviously some of the bigger ones there were. It's also interesting that they've pitched this as between 39 and 42 as well. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, some of it would obviously work for later.
Much later as well, yeah.
But I was talking to some people about the early Pacific War recently as well, and they went essentially they aimed their game at around about the same time period, because at that stage there was still an awful lot of back and forth. The Imperial Army hadn't been completely ruffle stumped by that stage, so so there was attacks and counterattacks on both sides. It was a more balanced
sort of
forces
campaign
in the Pacific.
And stuff, yeah. But I love that they've gone to the lengths of like really delving into detail in terms of the troops and how they'd be represented. I think what's quite nice is that it feels like they've gone a little bit further than you see like kits from Warlord have gone, with like lots of the additional accessories and bits and pieces on there. I love the flags, the Japanese flags strapped onto their
bayonets and rifles
and things. That's really cool.
Like that sniper, he looks like he's got like thatching.
Yeah, it's like
like
grass or something.
Like a grass ghillie suit, exactly. Yeah, to hide him.
Yeah.
That's a really nice touch and really nice pose as well, sort of cross-legged with the sniper rifle.
They've also done some really good stuff in here for kind of like weird incidental bits. So one of the sets they've done, which you'll see as we go through, is called the Crossing Men. So whenever they had to cross over rivers or areas of water, a bunch of soldiers would jump in the river and hold a ladder on their shoulders, and then the other soldiers would walk across it. I suppose it makes sense for like four or five men to get wet rather than
the whole company.
Who annoyed the sergeant today?
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. But as you can see here, and as I was saying earlier, they've done a good job of bringing together all the different elements you need. So you've got machine gunners, you've got your mortars, you got your snipers, you got your standard soldiers. There's the Crossing Men. I thought it was really neat. A little vignette.
That's really cool looking, actually.
Yeah.
Such a there's a guy carrying around a whole bunch of ammo. You don't want them falling in the river, do you? So
I just like the idea of putting that making a river section, and then at some point during a game just dropping
that down to cross.
That's your fording point there.
Yeah. I can see why Lloyd was so taken with this.
Studio Historia do some beautiful stuff. They did the American Civil War range previous.
But it's a nice set full of very dynamic miniatures that cover all the bases. As I said, they've got digital offerings. So if you want to just get your hands on the STL files and print them all off at home, you can do. If you want to go that extra level and get them out, get them physically sent to you, then you can get yourself a platoon, as you can see there, and you essentially get everything you'd need for running a a Japanese army on the tabletop in something like bolt action or whatever, which I think is really nice. And as you can see, they're unlocking a whole bunch of different stretch goals as they go as well, which is good. But yeah, Studio Historia and some Sons of Yamato. I thought it was a really nice little one there to kind of bring people back around to World War II and fighting in a different theatre of war from the norm.
Yeah,
as well, so
100%. It's a really nice set, and it looks like with the stretch goals they're hammering through, that it's going to be a comprehensive set as well. I'm not seeing anything massively missing so far. You're not going to be looking at
Hagos and Chihas maybe.
Yeah. But if they don't hit the top end unlocks, you're not going to be too worried that you're not going to be able to field a viable force. It's all there already.
You get the boats, the big landing craft, and the bunkers they would have been in as well. Is really cool. Oh, so
recon
good.
scouts, and beat the last Kickstarter campaign stretch goal. We made this before. Can we go further?
Yeah.
Bicycle trips. So that's quite good.
Bicycle trips would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And they've got some social stretch goals as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we don't do social. Who goes near social? What's this?
Why would you get into wargaming to talk to other people?
Well, apparently at least 50 people did.
Terrible sign.
They're out there, man. You got to keep an eye out for them. Don't trust them.
I've just noticed.
Oh, Hero
573 backed. That must be a ridiculous amount. Even I haven't reached that. Hero Nada. Service. He was the one.
He was the guy found in the 50s, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh,
he surrendered in the 50s.
When they had to dig his old commanding officer out of a retirement home because he wouldn't believe it wasn't a trap.
Yep.
Oh, there's some really nice ones in there. Oh, atonement for failure figure.
Oh, seppuku.
Yeah.
I'd almost try and work out how to do social to try and get them up to that. I won't though. The only social I do is anti. Right, Sons of Yamato, Imperial Japanese forces at war.
That's cool.
8 days left, and also funded. I think that wraps us up for another week.
Cool.
It does.
Mm-hmm. We will return once again next Friday, but if that's too far away, you can join us on Sunday over on tabletop.com for our Cult of Games XLBS, where we
subscribe
about our hobby. And don't forget, if you want to win that family board game and build your own kingdom, you need to be a subscriber and comment below. But until next time, have a great week of gaming.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.